we have so much interference, so many environmental toxins, so many outside factors, pesticides, poor water, poor air. Everything's kind of like invading, intruding. And the
Yeah.
body is like, I'm not releasing anything until you set me up for success.
I think it's no secret that I love the Little Words Project bracelets. I have about 6 or 7 on my arm, ones that have been given to me, ones I've bought myself. I love giving them as gifts. I think they're so inspirational for me personally. They're nice little reminders throughout my day to have hope, to be, have strength, to be in good energy. I just love the bracelets so much. I love giving them. I love receiving them. And if you want to check them out and you want to give it as a gift or get one for yourself, you can use our code QTC for 15% off your first order. Well, I'm very excited about this conversation. I'm so excited to have you here, Dr. Shivani Gupta. We were talking offline and we've been talking for like 15 minutes offline. I'm like, this is all great stuff. I want to just start recording. So yeah, I think just to start by sharing who you are and what your work is. And again, I started sharing some of my personal stuff and I'm like fresh off a call with my nutritionist about my GI map, but I have been learning so much post miscarriage about overall health, gut health, inflammation. I've discovered I have not one, but 2 autoimmunes. And I always want to give these resources to my audience because there are so many women that either, have infertility issues or are egg freezing. And I think there's just so much to be done to set ourselves up for success. Like the things that I've learned now and impatience sort of, I can get into that more in a little bit, but impatience did not serve me well in my journey. But if I'd known all the things I know now, I would have taken 3 months to do all of these things and then done a transfer. So I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to Quiet the Clock. And if you can just start by sharing you and about yourself and the incredible work that you do.
Sure. So I am from Houston, Texas, and I was born into a family that lived here in the US, but had just come from India. My parents had just immigrated. So I grew up in 2 worlds. We'd go to India every year, live with my grandparents and my cousins and visit there and live here. And I bring that up because I lived in 2 worlds, like literally 2 different worlds. If you look at how everyone does everything in India and how they do it here. And anytime I was here and I'd catch a cold and all the things I'd catch, because I felt like I did not have an immune system growing up, we would just run to the drugstore. Back then it was Eckerd's, and we'd pick up whatever it was, and the pediatrician would just write a script for antibiotics and you'd just take it. And when you went to India, my grandma would just open the cabinet. She'd be like, okay, we're going to take some turmeric. We're going to take some ginger. We're going to make you this tea. You'll be fine in a few days. Sleep, rest. So it's just a whole different approach. Like the spice cabinet was the drugstore in India versus the drugstore here. And so I always thought, like, who's right? What's right? And growing up, finally, by the time I reached college, I had such catastrophic health issues.
Really?
Bedridden, couldn't keep anything down, couldn't understand why everyone else gets to go out and have fun in life and I'm stuck. And so it was in that moment I realized I have to build my own immune system because whatever anyone else is telling me is not working. And I have to.
What were people telling you? Like, were you going to doctors and what were they diagnosing you with something? Were you taking medication?
There were no diagnoses. Every time I had a problem, they were like, here's your antibiotics. You'll be fine. Do you want to take some birth control? You have functional hypoglycemia. You're presenting like you're diabetic, but you're not. Like, we don't know what to do with you. And I wish we had known more about naturopathic or functional medicine back then. We just didn't. And so finally, when I was in India once and catastrophically sick, I told my parents, you know what? We're in the land of Ayurveda and yoga. And I think Ayurveda might have some answers. We're going on a journey. And they were like, okay. So they took me on my quest and I went to all the gurus of Ayurveda and immersed myself in that wisdom. I healed myself, healed my gut, got all better. And then I was like, why is Ayurveda not marketable? Like, why is it that in the US we don't know it? We don't apply it. Like, there must be something here where these people aren't explaining it right for those people over there back where I live. And so that became my mission, is like, how do I distill Ayurvedic knowledge in a bite-sized way that people will use? And then how do I take their tools and make them less stinky and hard to eat and do, and bring them into the West so we can apply them to ourselves. And that's been my work since college, literally.
Wow. And amazing. Like, I just think, the power of healing yourself can be so important, because especially in my fertility journey and others, sometimes, I think I'm feeling like there's two camps, that there's like the medical doctors, and then there's, functional medicine and naturopaths and acupuncture. And the I don't know, the amount of I don't knows, or we don't know, or there's no answer, or like, don't worry about that, is really disheartening and frustrating. So I think it's amazing that you went on this quest and you found your own answers and you healed yourself. So I don't know much about this. So if you can share what this actually is, would be amazing.
Sure. So Ayurveda is an entire system of medicine, health, and healing from India that's over 5,000 years old. And it encompasses different pillars of health. So we have detoxification and annual detoxes that really are like the oil change you must do to have my Then we have circadian rhythm. The circadian clock is from Ayurveda. And we're hearing it talked about a lot, but it originates in Ayurveda and teaches us how to live in rhythm with nature, as opposed to being out of sync with nature. Because a lot of times why our body is in fight or flight and always stressed and not doing the natural things we want it to do is because we're not on nature's clock. We're creating a synthetic clock that defies nature.
Okay, as you're listening these things out, maybe we can go through like, what is each one? Like, I'm so curious. I'm like taking notes right now. What does an annual detox look like? And I love how you put that like an oil change. Because when I was growing up, my dad, that's like the one thing, like when my sister and I started driving, like, be on us, get the oil change, because the engine will die. And I actually had that happen to a friend. So I love that analogy of like, it's the oil change. So what does that look like, an annual detox?
So when I was getting ready to have kids, I was about 29 years old, and I had been married for about 5 years. And I knew that in Ayurveda, we teach that the body is a vessel. And it's so important to prepare this vessel to be so healthy, so vibrant, so strong, that when you give birth and have this child and potentially breastfeed, you're not going to give the baby everything and be left with nothing. And by that point, I had worked so hard on my health. I was like, I'm not letting some baby suck everything out of me. I'm going to go in so ready that I'll come out perfectly awesome and ready to do my life the way it was, which we all get that reckoning after kids. But I did this Panchakarma detox in India. There's a place called Jindal Naturopathy Institute. It was in Naturopathic Institute in Bangalore. We have places like that in the United States. We have Maharishi. We have the Ayurveda Institute by Dr. Lad. So we have institutes in the US where you can go and immerse and do Panchakarma. And Panchakarma is like this profound detox. In India, it's a little rough when they do it because they're doing everything as like a medical treatment. So it's enemas, it's colonics, it's every orifice of your body will be releasing everything you've probably ever stored or consumed, from up here and down there and everywhere. And they're going to massage you, and they're going to really like just get your fat cells in your body to relieve and release everything. And everything gets so cleaned out. You come out of there feeling like a new person.
Oh my God. I'm listening to you. I'm like, that sounds amazing. I'm like, I need to look up these places ASAP.
Yeah. And so just taking the time to detox. And sometimes when you're not ready for the Ayurvedic version, I've taken my family to places like Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach. I've taken my own family for 3 weeks just so we would decrease inflammation, get gut health clean and cleared out, and allow the body to heal itself, because the body is a self-healing mechanism. The problem is we have so much interference, so many environmental toxins, so many outside factors, pesticides, poor water, poor air. Everything's kind of like invading, intruding.
Yeah.
The body is like, I'm not releasing anything until you set me up for success.
Now you mentioned you would take your family for 3 weeks, but like how long would does it have to be a 3-week event, or?
I think compliance is always better than perfection. So 1, 2, or 3 weeks, whatever you can do is worth it. Just do it. Yeah.
No, it's so funny because I was sharing with you offline that I had just got off this call with my nutritionist, and we'd gone through my GI map. And then I had a little bit of time in between that and meeting with you. And I called Rob, my partner, and I'm like, I'm just so overwhelmed, like, and the stress and all these things and all these changes I'm making. And he's like, you need to take a break. And then now I'm like, I'm going to go take a week and go detox.
Yeah, that's the best investment. And when my family and I went because my mom has been diabetic on insulin for over 30 years. And I really, whenever I take her to these things, we reverse her diabetes back to like full
Wow.
baseline diabetes. You get such a profound result. And I thought this is the best way to vacation. Like we think of vacationing as like, let's go drink and hang and eat in these beautiful places. But what if we just made ourselves beautiful from the inside instead?
Well, and oftentimes when there are vacations, like other kinds of vacations, you come back from those vacations needing vacations.
Correct. Or needing to detox. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Sorry, hopefully they can drown that out. There's like a weed whacker out there right now. Can you hear that?
I can.
God, it's right outside my window. They could probably do something with that. Okay, and then the next one you mentioned was being in rhythm with nature. And
Yeah.
how does one do that?
So the circadian clock is a concept where nature, the sun rises. We're supposed to rise with the sun.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to run through our day the way we're going to, being more active in the morning, getting our best work done by about 2:00 on that clock. In Ayurveda, we teach something called the doshas, which I'll get into. But
Okay.
the doshas say that 10 to 2 on that circadian clock is the most important time to eat your biggest meal, absorb all your best nutrients, get all your focus work done. After 2, kind of take a break. And then evening time, settle down, like wind down towards that bedtime because 10:00 you have a melatonin release. And you want to harness that to really sleep well. And 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the best time to sleep. And it's double as important to sleep at that time compared to all the other hours in the night. So sleeping at 10 is really key. You're using your melatonin release. You're going to really clean and clear. We call it Pitta time of day. So it's your time to clear out all the inflammation, support the lymphatic system in clearing out, to heal and rejuvenate. And yes, you are supposed to sleep your 6 to 8 hours. So keep sleeping. But that's the most important part of the clock. And so the goal there is adjust your day, adjust your schedule to support yourself instead of doing things like caffeinate and push through and jam through and collapse at the end of the day. Because when we're constantly defying the body's natural rhythm, we're not going to win. And so sometimes I think of that as treat yourself like an athlete. An athlete goes at it, but has recovery. And so you deserve the recovery because you need it after the level of work that you're doing. So where can you build that into your schedule more?
It's so interesting listening to you share all of these things because I think about, the guests that I've had on and the demographic and where these women live. And it's, very high performing, type A, super ambitious, super successful women living in places like Manhattan or LA. And it is like so hustle culture. And so like caffeinated, like you said, and grinding and like definitely not going to bed by 10, probably going out at 10 p.m. or having dinner at 10 p.m. So it's just interesting to hear really how we should be living versus how we're actually living.
True. And it can sound kind of impossible if that's the schedule you're on. Like I'm in a phase of my life right now where my company is growing and scaling and 3Xing. And you're like, wait, I love the success. And it goes extremely against my Ayurvedic rhythm to travel to conferences and speak at medical conferences and run around. And so that's why I take the athlete analogy more seriously now. If I'm going to be on camera for 5 hours a day, I'm taking an hour or 45 minutes to walk in nature. I'm taking my time where I dial it back and recover. Mm-hmm. And then if I do have a dinner to go to, okay, fine. But really limiting the alcohol, the inflammatory foods, and trying to remember that most nights can I do finish dinner by 7, finish all activities and work by 8, get self-care in the house wrapped up by 9, and then really wind down for bed by 10. Mm-hmm. It's so much harder to achieve now that the company's grown. But if we don't,
which is amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. But if you don't do it, you're going to pay a price. And I can see the price. I can see that I'm more inflamed. You see it in weight gain. You see it in brain function. And those are your tells, your signs from the body. Hey, gut's off, health is off. You got to you got to reel it back a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So I know. And I've shared with you and I've shared on here, like I have made all these changes and it can be overwhelming, but I think I'm trying to strike a balance of, because it can be so rigid and it could feel like you can't have fun or live your life. But it sounds like you can find a balance there. And that maybe if it's like a majority of the time you're in rhythm or you're detoxing, that, you know, there can be room for fun and maybe a drink or a later night.
Absolutely. And I customize that to people. I do calls with people all the time and I'll customize 3, 4. What about 3 days on, 4 days off?
Oh,
Or
okay.
5 days on, 2 days off. Like, how can you make your weekend so nourishing that it balances your 100-mile-an-hour pace of your week? Really kind of reprogramming our own mind around what is fun. Because to me, fun now is like epic self-care, radical self-care.
Feeling good, not being hungover.
Exactly.
Okay, what else? So we have, annual detox, being in rhythm with nature. What are some other tools?
Number 3 would be your dosha. So in Ayurveda, we teach about the 5 elements. We teach so much about nature. And using the elements, we have everyone take what's called a dosha quiz. And the dosha quiz lets you know if you are a vata, a pitta, or a kapha. Mm-hmm. And those 3 represent different body types, different tendencies, different traits. And once you know your dosha, you can actually leverage it. You can switch how you eat, when you eat, how you sleep, how you do self-care, really, and address your own body to balance yourself. So vata is more air and wind. So that's your person who's more like a tornado. They're like an energizer bunny. They're thin and wiry. They're never at rest. They have a tendency towards anxiety, disturbed sleep, disturbed gut health. So vata gets its own protocol of how to balance itself.
Interesting.
Then there's pitta people. The pitta people are more fiery. This is someone who's medium body, tends to have early graying in their hair, tends to get hangry. Pitta people, I'm one, tend to run inflamed. We tend to explode on the people around us if we're not supported and keeping ourselves cool and calm. And so knowing that you're a pitta can be very important because then you can balance yourself. And that's fire and water. And then kapha is earth with water. And the kapha people are more solid, big boned. They have a slower metabolism. They're very one thing at a time, curly, oily hair, rounder features. And so kapha needs support in getting up and moving to get that metabolism moving for the day and not catching colds or having too much mucus and drainage stuff. And then they need support in balancing so that they honor their body type and all the things that come with that.
Wow. I just think how amazing it is to know, would it be to know those things? Because I think sometimes we can hold these narratives as like something is wrong with us, right? Or why, if you're the last dosha that you said, like, you know, society, I can't get out of bed, I'm so lazy, or all these things. But no, like we just need to understand this and then support it in the right way.
Exactly. And that's the thing. A lot of kaphas come to me and they're like, why does society think I'm lazy? I'm just me. And I'm like, don't worry. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how much you're going to accomplish before you sit down for the day. And then you just cannot get up. Mm-hmm. And it's important to know if you're imbalanced. So what if you were a pitta and then your life, like, let's say someone passes away, you become nurture, or you have a kid and that puts you into that nurturing mode. Sometimes we get shoved into a kapha imbalance and we need to walk our way back towards being our original dosha to feel like ourselves in our body.
Yeah. I think that's everything with, you know, and mainly we talk a lot about like egg freezing, but you were sharing stories with me and milestones about people, you know, close in your life that like this podcast and this content would relate to, is like when we go through these processes, we don't feel in our body, like we don't feel comfortable in our body. Our body doesn't feel like our own, or even maybe if you're not going through egg freezing, I think, again, I'm learning so much about inflammation and gut that I had no idea. And I thought I was living a relatively healthy life. And I mean, to be quite honest, I don't think I would have gone down this road if I haven't, you know, been experiencing fertility issues. So sure. I can't imagine how many women, because I think about, again, on our demographic, I think, again, type A, they're very healthy, like they're drinking the green juice, they're going to all the boutique like workout classes. And we think we're doing all these healthy things, but then not realizing all the ways maybe we're living out of rhythm, or all the things that are happening like in our gut or in our body.
True. And Ayurveda has such a big focus on gut health. We teach gut health as meaning the gut digestive fire. And that fire is to be honored like a campfire. So every morning you light that campfire up and you have certain practices. Then you manage that through the day with food and no snacking. And we have certain ways to eat and certain ways to prepare the food so it's actually nutrient dense and nutritious, which we're lacking a lot of nowadays. And then at night, settle that campfire down. You can go to sleep and move into the next process, which is healing and repairing overnight. But I do have some stories. I have one person close to me who did egg freezing. And afterwards, she felt so out of balance with her body. She's a pitta, and she always feels more kapha through this journey because you have weight gain in this process and a lot of things like that. And so I had her do an Ayurvedic detox. And then she got back into alignment and now feels like on purpose with her energy back the way she wanted and feeling the way she needs to in her body as she goes on to the next steps in her IVF journey. I have another woman who reached out to me who did 6 rounds of IVF and still wasn't able to conceive, had already gone to functional medicine, thought she had fixed everything, and then heard about me. We did a session and I was like, we've got to fix gut. We've got to do some deeper work here. And now she's pregnant with the baby. And I'm so elated. I'm like, yes.
Of course.
Sometimes it's really weird, tiny things. And you need the right practitioner to go drill down and investigate into like, what is the one thing that is the problem here? And then sometimes it is bigger. Like I see a lot of women where we think we're being healthy because we're doing our best. And because we don't have the right toolkit in modern day society, we're almost like chasing our tail. And so even I myself fall in that trap sometimes. And I'm like, Ayurveda, just use the Ayurvedic toolkit. It'll get you there. And so that process of detox, aligning to your circadian rhythm, knowing and balancing your dosha, fixing gut health, and then I like using super spices and herbs can get you into the right flow. And then we're more set up for success.
Amazing. How does this, because this is all new to me, but how much does this differ from, say, like functional medicine or working with like a dietitian or a hormone specialist? Like what sets Ayurveda apart from that?
From what I've seen, RDs, dietitians, people who are in nutrition look at the world through their lens. You have a problem and we fix it with food. When you go to functional medicine, there's a huge variety of types of practitioners. Sometimes you have to go to one, finish your work with them, and then move on to the next level and the next level based on the level of health you want. So like I'm already on my 2nd and 3rd functional medicine doc where I'm like, all right, let's work on the next thing. Let's do my genetic testing. And that's more for optimization once you fix the building block issues that you might have going on in gut and things like that. But in functional medicine, I find they're investigators. They're using a toolkit of diagnostic testing to try to discern and understand what's wrong with you. And then they're going to put you on different protocols that you do for periods of time to win at that problem. Whatever deficiencies you have, whatever imbalances you have, if it's heavy metal, mold, gut, blood work, vitamin, mineral deficiencies, all those issues, they'll address them. But the problem is once you're done, you're going to recreate the exact same problems if you haven't learned a new lifestyle.
Right.
Like my blood work's going to show those deficiencies for life if I finish the protocol and then I'm done and I haven't changed how I eat, when I eat, how I absorb it, all those different things. So that's where I think functional medicine needs to bridge and meet Ayurveda so that Ayurveda can take over teaching the lifestyle that holds all those results that we want.
I love that. Yeah. And I think we can be so solution focused that we do just want to like attack the problem and fix it. And I know I can speak for myself, but probably a lot of women listening is you want to fix the problem so you can get a successful retrieval or successful transfer or successful pregnancy. So it's like, I'm not looking at that. I'm trying to really look at it of like, these are lifestyle changes. This is about overall health. Like sort of the bigger meaning and purpose of all this is that I am awake to my health now. But I think when women are like, hyper focused on the egg freezing or the fertility, it's like, I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to do it for 3 months. And it could be really easy to slip back into old habits.
Sure. And when you're on the clock, you want the solution fast. And so I'm a big believer in like, let's tackle it with the things that work the fastest. Let's put the fires out. And so that's why I'm so passionate about turmeric and adaptogens. Like, let's just put it out. And now that we can talk about lifestyle. Because otherwise you're asking a lot from someone. If someone's in pain, you're not going to say, oh, let's go eat an anti-inflammatory diet. You're going to say, let's get you out of pain first. And then let's go adjust all the things that will be the building blocks to get you this result without a supplement or without a tool.
Yeah. Have you, and you've already mentioned some cases, but do you see a lot of women coming to you for fertility or or egg freezing? And, would you make those, say someone's looking to freeze their eggs, would you recommend a protocol for a certain amount of months before doing that to optimize outcome?
I mean, in Ayurveda, we love more time rather than less. Unfortunately, nowadays, the only time people find Ayurveda is like when you're at the last door possible, then you find Ayurveda, which is why my whole mission is to share it.
I love this. I think this is like, we need all of this information. It's been so eye-opening through my own journey and doing this podcast, how little as women we know, even just about egg freezing and our fertility. And now that I'm diving into all these other things, so little we know about our health and like these things within us, our gut inflammation, autoimmune that's affecting fertility. So I love that you're putting this out here. And unfortunately, I'm at the last door, and this is when I'm finding it.
Yeah, but I built my own little team. I have a doctor who's like a Dr. House. He is an MD, functional medicine doctor. He's been very powerful in helping my clients discern like, what's that one thing, that one button that we had to push. And now that's why one of my clients got pregnant. And then I have a health coach who's phenomenal. And so she's able to support with how do we maintain a healthier pregnancy? And we keep this pregnancy that we've invested so much time and money into, so we can keep it. So we're a little 3-part team right now who are working well with a few people on their metabolic health, on their gut health, on the whole system, so that the few women I do have in my little practice right now are doing well. Most people come to me for gut inflammation and that kind of thing. But I actually love the topic of pregnancy and fertility, because when I started my whole journey into Ayurveda, it was to write books on Ayurvedic pregnancy. And I wrote one called The Conscious Pregnancy years ago. It feels very 101 to me now. But when my editor was editing my book, she's like, you should have called this Ayurveda for fertility. Everything you wrote, you could have done beforehand. And I said, yeah, I just didn't want to make them feel bad. So I broke it into trimesters, and you could do it through your pregnancy or get that wisdom beforehand. But I'm very passionate about in this lifetime continuing that work, because I think Ayurveda and fertility is an area that's not being discussed, but could give people so much time saving and savings in the pain and the heartache on that journey.
And money save. I mean, the pain for sure, 100, but money saving. I know you mentioned, someone that went 6 times. I mean, that's a very expensive journey. And I've learned, so many journeys of, since my miscarriage, like 5, 6 times before then finding this one thing that medical doctors didn't check for that could have like safeguarded them from like multiple miscarriages. I personally went to a reproductive immunologist to learn more about the high thyroid antibodies. And the guy was like, don't worry about it. Don't stress it. Come back to me if you have another miscarriage. And I'm like, how is that the answer? Like, I want to know what's happening in my body. I want to know what's going on. I want to know if this is the reason I miscarried. And I think I love that you're doing the work that you're doing, and that we're making it more accessible for women to hear about this stuff before it's 4, 5, 6 failed transfers or 3 miscarriages.
Yeah. And that's a lot to take a toll on the body as well. The body is going through huge fluctuations at that point. And so I think it's even more important if you're going through that journey, that this investment in gut health, investment in managing your inflammation and all that's happening, because you're really pushing a lot into the body at that time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The mental, emotional stress and weight of it, the hormones, the injections, all of it. I want to talk a little bit about, autoimmunity and inflammation. I have my own interest, of course, but how would, I was even saying to my nutritionist that and I think I was saying to this before you and I hit record, was I would have known none of these things if I wasn't going through this fertility journey. And so on this podcast, we talk a lot about going to get your fertility checked, right? At least getting it checked. And what can women do to learn whether or not they are inflamed or whether or not they do have an autoimmune prior to it being, looking into it as a result of fertility?
In our regular checkups with our primary care, we're supposed to get those answers. We're supposed to get tested for these kinds of things. The problem is a lot of doctors aren't testing us at the level that we need. And it's just not part of the daily protocols. And when you're younger or a woman, things don't present the same way. And so I'm finding that right now, autoimmunity is exploding. We need more answers. If you
Mm.
can go to functional medicine, I very much would go to functional medicine because they take the deep dives into your stool test, your blood work, your food intolerances, the foods you're eating that are horribly inflaming you. Like some people can't eat turmeric, they can't eat ginger, they can't eat
Right.
broccoli.
And you think those things are healthy for you. My nutritionist had said to me to stay away from, because of the copper toxicity, to stay away from kale and spinach. And you're like, I'm like, I eat that a lot and those are supposed to be healthy. But for me,
Right.
with the high toxicity, it's not.
Right. So if your body is giving you answers like swelling, fevers, these are inflammatory signs from the body, gut disrupted, brain fog, frequent headaches. If your body's always feeling fatigued, these are signs from your body that you're inflamed. And so it's so important to go to the doctor and say, hey, I think I'm inflamed. Something is wrong. I don't understand. And or go to functional medicine. Even chiropractors, acupuncturists, a lot of them are practicing functional medicine as well.
Mm-hmm.
But also just take a dosha quiz and talk, like understand for yourself how to bring yourself into balance. And I find that too is a powerful way to just get yourself back to your center and wholeness and nourished feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
from there, you can kind of go further. But autoimmunity is very much prevalent right now. And I think it's important everyone goes to their doctor, goes to their rheumatologist, gets tested, gets their numbers. And sometimes we
Why
need
do you think why do you think autoimmunity is like exploding?
I think it's multifactorial. Water quality, skincare products and the toxins in there, cleaning products, air quality, mold exposure, heavy metal exposure. The environmental toxic burden on the body right now is just too much, male and female. So we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
huge
Mm-hmm.
impacts into fertility. And I think it's only going to get worse. We're going to watch the next couple of decades that get much, much worse. And
That
so
is so scary.
I look at fertility as an investment that you should make on your newborn before they're born. And that's how I looked at it with my kids. My kids are 10 and 13. When I had my kid, I had already pre-planned nothing that like down to the diapers, down to the fabrics, down to the cleaning products, like reduce the toxic burden on this little human because they're already coming into a toxic world.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know that's one of the things that I did too after my miscarriage was a complete like overhaul of all my products, my son's products, our kitchen, cookware, everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And in Ayurveda, we teach a lot about how to eat, which involves don't use the microwave, baking and cooking the food, eating more balanced, nourishing meals. We teach something called the sattvic diet. And the sattvic diet is this very yogic diet that is balanced. It's an omnivore diet, not these very one-track diets that are so restrictive. And then we don't have the gut microbiome and diversity that we need to maintain a healthy body.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Where can someone do the quiz?
I have the quiz on my website at Shivani.
Okay, we'll have to link that in the show notes because I want to do that. I'm sure everyone listening is going to want to do the quiz.
It's fun. It's like any personality quiz. You're like, oh, what's my sign? What's my this? So it's very illuminating. And then you can take it further and understand what your dosha was at birth, what your dosha is now. And then the goal is to bring you back to your original dosha.
Birth. Oh my gosh, I'm so curious about that. In terms of the autoimmunity, are some of them, can some be healed or some kind of you will live with them? Or if you make certain lifestyle changes, you can reverse them?
In Ayurveda, we believe you can heal from everything.
I love that.
Yeah, the body wants to be healed. If the body's battling with itself, we have to go figure out why and then undo the things that are causing the body to battle with itself. Like I had leaky gut and I was like, wow, thank you for finally giving me my answer of why I was like this. And then whenever I get a diagnosis like that, I'm like, thank you for the answer. I'm going to go over there and go find my own solutions. I don't need yours. Thanks. And I took that answer and I created my own protocol. I used ghee, which is oleation of the gut. It's medicinal. It's so healing. I used turmeric. I used ginger. I used all my anti-inflammatory stuff out of Ayurveda. I used my detox self-care that you can do every day. So it's not hard. Once you build a lifestyle, that's your rhythm. And then all you have to do is maintain the rhythm. And if you come off the rhythm, you'll feel it because it's not going to feel good. And you'll just get back on the rhythm. And that's my goal is let me show you how to live on a different rhythm that detoxes you every day, lets you feel whole and nourished every day, builds in anchor points for self-care. and then you're golden. Like you've created a rhythm to win at your health.
Yeah. And I think that's such an amazing way to look at it. Like once you sort of learn these new ways and then it's being in rhythm. So it's so easy because I think, and I kind of did an all at once panic, throw everything at the wall. So it's been a little bit overwhelming, but I think I am starting to find my rhythm. And I think that's a reassuring message to people out there that it doesn't have to be so hard. And I also think when you start to see the results of that work, it really keeps you motivated to stay in it.
True. Very true.
You mentioned besides the food and the ginger, and what are some other daily detox recommendations you make?
So in Ayurveda, we have something called Dinacharya, and that's the 12 self-care rituals that we can do every single day. One of them is using a copper tongue scraper. In your case, maybe not copper, but
I know. I actually saw that on your Instagram. I know. I was like, I need that. But is there ones that are not copper?
Yeah, you can use steel. They're steel copper scrapers, steel tongue scrapers. But you can take a tongue scraper every morning and you just have it stacked this right on top of brushing your teeth. And you gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times. You might have to rinse it off a few times because there's this white film that forms on our tongue that's called ama. And ama is all the toxic residue and buildup that exists in our bodies. And Ayurveda teaches us that just like on the feet in reflexology, all the organs of the body are reflected on our feet. That's why you have to be careful with who presses on your feet. Mm-hmm. All the organs of the body are reflected on the tongue. And so what you're doing is you're gently massaging and detoxing all of your organs by scraping your tongue. You're also clearing your taste buds so they work better. So you'll actually taste your food and be satiated earlier. And you'll be cleaning up your oral microbiome, which is part of your gut microbiome. And so it's so important that because gut microbiome starts up here, we are keeping the oral microbiome healthy. And so tongue scraping followed by oil pulling, which if you can't do both, just do the tongue scraping. But if on the weekend or anytime you have time for oil pulling is an Ayurvedic habit where you take organic food grade oil, you take about 2 tablespoons, so it can be coconut oil. We love sesame oil the most, but you can use your olive oil from your kitchen. You should put it in the mouth and keep it there for 5 to 20 minutes. What I like about this one for my busy women is you can multitask. So you can take your shower, you can make your coffee, you can get dressed as long as you're not trying to talk to your children. You can be oil pulling while you're waiting. And then as you go along, all you have to do is swish it around the mouth, move it around your gums, and spit it out, not in your sink, your toilet, or your shower. Make sure you spit it in the trash so you don't clog the pipes of the home. But what this is going to do is it's going to collect all the bacteria in the mouth and all the harmful bacteria, put it all into that oil and remove it. So again, it's so supportive of oral microbiome. And we know gut microbiome is key to all health. Mm-hmm. And it's detoxing.
And those are easy things to do. Those are really easy things to do.
The tongue scraper you buy once and the oil pretty much nothing. So it's like almost free health habits so that by the time you do go to do that big old detox, you're going to show up and be like, oh, there's not much to do. I'm already cleaned up.
Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. It's just interesting. And maybe, I'm late to the game and more people know about this stuff, but these are simple little things that can make such a big difference in our overall health. And I just feel like it's not front and center. I think we're just so, it's so ingrained to us to go to the doctor. And like you're saying, this divide when you grew up being here and then, in India and just like go and get the script and take the medication or take the antibiotic. And there's a whole debate now on birth control and how, whether that's good for us or not.
Yeah.
Just, this is the stuff we grew up knowing to be the right way to take care of ourselves.
And, adding on top of that, we know women's health right now is not studied as well as men's health. We know that all the testing that was done, even on menopause and a lot of things, wasn't done on women at the level it needed to be. So I kind of look at women's health right now as, you know what? We're in the wild, wild west. You have been saying you have answers. I no longer trust a lot of those answers, but I know that ancient wisdom is tried and true. I know ancient wisdom is timeless. I know that women have innate wisdom. We have intuitive wisdom. And so if we can just tune into that, we will get the answers we need to do what's right for us because we're so bio-individual. And so much of my work is, let me give you the toolkit. And the toolkit's actually going to sharpen your intuition, and your intuition will constantly tell you which tool you need next. Like I learned recently that I do this all day. I'm on camera and teaching. So in between, I literally get in bed and have tea for 5 minutes. chill out, decompress,
I need
and
to
then I
do
can
that.
come back on. And
Yeah.
but the recovery is as important as the action. And so I teach just intuitively, my body will tell me, you know what, you need water. You know what, actually today you need that adaptogen tea. You know what, you need a snack with healthy fat, or you need chocolate. You're a pitta and you're going on too many cylinders and you need to slow this down, and sugar will calm down anxiety. So that's why so many people are sugar addicted. So if you
Oh,
know
wow.
so if you know that cue, you're like, okay, well, I know I'm asking for it and I know I'm reaching for it. I'll just have 2 dark chocolates and that's okay. So it's just interesting when you understand yourself, you are your own sovereign advocate and you can dictate this plan
Yeah.
above
I
above
think
all the
that's
others.
I think that's what's missing is the sort of tuning into ourselves. And I think a lot of that is the function of just like, we're a hustle culture. We're moving very quickly. I think sometimes it can, and I can speak for myself, sometimes it could be hard to give ourselves permission to take that break or slow down, or we jam pack our schedules. Like this was literally the conversation I was having with Rob before I got on here, and giving ourselves that time to be intuitive and to tune in. And I think that coupled with these type of conversations and the kind of, your platform and sharing more information, being equipped to go to doctors and say, hey, like I run the thyroid panel, or let's do another saline ultrasound, like something is, and having to be our own advocate and really having that intuition to then have the voice to push for these things.
Absolutely. Because in the end, it's that intuition that's going to win. Your intuition knows best. It's your body. It's your cells that are screaming answers. We're just not hearing them. And so our job is just to learn how to hear them. And then we can direct this path to get us to the goal faster. So it's more efficient. It's easier. And we'll get to the result we want. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And easier, sooner, less expensive. And then creating a lifestyle that will just transform your health forever, past fertility, past egg freezing, past having children.
True.
Wow.
Very true. And this is that beginning part. Like we're talking about fertility, which is a huge part of it. And then there's pregnancy and how to maintain that really healthy pregnancy that you just did all this work building. And I think, like you said, you're getting all this knowledge that will all apply for that pregnancy to keep the healthy pregnancy. And then post, for us to recover and get back to our lives the way we want to, requires that same level of stamina and endurance and health that we build at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's bigger than the problem solving, like identify the problem, fix it and move on. It's like thinking more big picture, more holistically of like, just how do you support your health, period, to have optimal health, to live a life where you feel good and healthy and you're not dragging ass through the day or feeling like crap. Yeah, I think I'm so incredibly fascinated by all of this work. And I'm so incredibly fascinated about all the ways that we can have within our control to heal our body. And I think this conversation and the conversations you're having and the messages you're putting out is so helpful and reassuring to women, because I think what's happening is a lot of women are getting the, I don't know what's wrong. Let's just go back and do another cycle of egg freezing. Like, okay, we thought you were going to get this many eggs and you only got this many eggs, and why? And I just think you are equipping women with more answers and more ways to look at what's happening in their body that might be, causing results that are not ideal.
Absolutely. And my sister always makes fun of me. She's like, you're so fertile. And I was like, well, I just live the Ayurvedic lifestyle. I was like, the whole point of the Ayurvedic lifestyle is for the woman to be so whole and nourished. And that, I think, is what leads us to having that level of fertility, vibrancy, energy, everything that we want to have. So that's why I love teaching it. I think we all deserve to feel amazing and vibrant in our bodies.
And I think in so many ways, we're so depleted. We're so depleted in so many ways, and emotionally, and again, a hustle culture, nothing is ever good enough. There's more to be done. Someone else is doing this and I have to do this. And especially the demographic of women that we speak to there is a lot of comparison of like, I am 34 and I didn't meet my partner yet, or I'm 30, this is my age is 37 and I'm freezing my eggs. I don't know if I'm going to be a mother. And that pressure of like the timelines. And, I think it leaves us in this like hyper state of hypervigilance, hyper stress, total depletion, and just thinking about ways we can, counteract that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a big journey, and I wish our modern day society would keep sending the message, instead of hustle culture, which impacts all of us, of some balance in between. Because I think there's like the juxtaposition of like the homestead life versus this like grind.
I've been following stuff on that. That looks great, but also so overwhelming. That's like 10 jobs in one, I feel like, to live life like, yeah. Well, that's what's so hard, is that there's a convenience to other ways of living, right? Like a fast food or a quick smoothie, or, we're always in such a rush. And I think, in myself included, before diving into all of this stuff, I would like be in between sessions and I would like make a shake or just like toast a bagel, and, getting no nutritious value. And so I think convenience is sometimes the priority, but then it's not allowing us to, make good choices for ourselves. And Rob and I obviously had a long conversation before this call. We were talking about a lot of things, and I was saying the cooking takes a lot of time, and I'm not just like popping a bagel in the toaster. I'm like getting the pan out and putting the coconut oil, and then the meat and all, and then it's like lots of stuff to wash. And so it's just but staying connected to the why I'm doing all those things is so important.
Yeah. And find ways to make it easier. The meal prepping, the buying things washed and ready, like as much as you can. Sometimes all my salads come in from the store ready. Like I go to Sprouts and I love their prepared salads. So that's what I eat. I just break it into 2 and I eat one every other day. And so sometimes it's just like, how do I get the level of nutrition I want, but at the convenience I need, while keeping it nutrient dense? And another favorite self-care tool I have, thinking about what you were just saying, I teach something called Tea Time is Me Time, where every single day, a couple times a day, because I'm literally on business calls and working from the minute I wake up, email, text, social, it's all blowing up all day. Now I laugh at how much my phone blows up upon waking. And I'm like, I wish for these days. I wish for the days when my business would do this. So I'm not going to complain. But oh my God. And so Tea Time is Me Time is my habit, where I just tune into myself and I ask myself, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Have you set up today so you're going to get to eat? Is there anything this week you need to cancel or move so you survive? And my brain will be like, you know what? You can't do all that on Saturday. You'll die. Cancel this, cancel that. And it's your own intuition just needing enough space to give you an answer. Yeah. And so I use tea as my cue. 5 times a day, I have a cup of tea, and I'm always like, okay. And then I get really powerful answers on what to change and what to adjust. And then I'm happy. Then I don't crash at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like the cancellation or saying no. I've worked with so many of my clients on that. It's just like looking at the calendar and like, because everyone's overscheduled, and looking at where you can say no to something can be really, really, like the saying no is saying yes to yourself, is what I would say to my clients.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, please tell everybody where they can find you, where they can take the quiz, where they can maybe reach out to you and do a consultation or potentially work with you.
Sure. So my website is my name, shivanigupta.com, SHIVANIGUPTA, and my quiz, my cookbook, my guides, they're all there on that site. I have Instagram at dr.shivanigupta, and I'm on all the social. And then I have a podcast, Fusionary Health Podcast, where I interview doctors and practitioners and everyone in the space to show us how we can shift our health.
Amazing. I appreciate you being here so much. I appreciate everything that you've shared with the audience today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you're someone struggling or relating to the topics that we're talking about now, and you're feeling the anxiety or the stress or the pressure of feeling like you're running out of time, you're behind, and you want some extra support, check out my group therapy practice in Midtown Manhattan, NYC Therapeutic Wellness. We have an amazing team of clinicians ready to support you in your journey, to help you feel more grounded, to help you feel more grateful, to help you feel like you're just exactly where you need to be. So check us out at www.nyctherapeuticwellness.com. Hey guys, I'm Beth. Thank you so much for tuning in to Quiet the Clock. If you want to hear more episodes and learn more about how to dismantle societal timelines, live life on your own terms, live life fully and authentically, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and you can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Quiet the Clock Pod.